Can you unbutton the top button of those jeans? No. Why don't you push them down a little bit?
No, I don't think so.
She was 16, trembling, told to take her top off, camera shutters clicking before she even understood what it meant to say no. That was the start of Kate Moss's career. Not glamour, not choice, just pressure. And yet, somehow, she went from terrified teenager to the most iconic model on the planet.
How prepared is anyone at 17 to become a public figure?
You hope to do something that stimulates people, that stimulates their imagination.
She wasn't the tallest girl in the room. She didn't have a signature walk or an hourglass frame. And yet, she turned into the biggest modeling phenomenon of the 90s. She didn't just walk runways, she haunted them. When the era of glamazons ruled fashion, Kate showed up like a beautiful glitch in the system and made every editor, every designer, every single person fall in line. But behind the smoky eyes, the champagne-soaked photos, and the headlines was a girl carrying far more than a Birkin bag. From scandalous lovers to tabloid implosions, Kate Moss's life was as intoxicating as it was tragic.
And worked for no money, was always borrowing money off my mum.
Kate has that quality of child woman thing, which touches a nerve with men especially.
How do you experience being a sex symbol?
I don't think about it.
Chapter 1. The Unlikely Beginning. Catherine Ann Moss was born in 1974 in Croydon, a suburban town just outside London, hardly the birthplace of fashion royalty. Kate Moss was discovered at JFK Airport. She was 14, exhausted from a family vacation in the Bahamas, wearing an oversized tee, hair a mess, and very much not looking to be found. A scout from Storm Models saw something no one else did, a face that didn't scream, it whispered. That whisper would soon echo through every fashion house across the globe. But back in Croydon, Kate was just a quiet girl in a working-class family, with no connections to the glitzy, airbrushed world of fashion. Modeling wasn't a dream, it was a surprise. One minute she was at school, the next she was the centerpiece of a photo shoot that would define a generation. Her first major editorial shoot was with photographer Corinne Day for The Face. The photos were raw, intimate, and shockingly real. No makeup team, no glamour, just Kate, vulnerable and unguarded. The fashion world called it art, critics called it exploitation. And Kate? She didn't know what to call it. She was just doing her job. But the image was unforgettable. She was unlike anyone else on the scene. No training, no drama, no agenda, just presence. That presence would soon take over everything. Chapter 2. The Waif That Broke the World. By the early 90s, Kate was everywhere, not because she demanded it, but because the industry couldn't look away. At a time when supermodels looked like goddesses carved out of marble, Kate looked like the girl who cut class to smoke behind the school. Fragile, slight, a slip of a thing. Calvin Klein handed her global fame when he cast her alongside Mark Wahlberg in a campaign so iconic it feels etched into pop culture's DNA. But that campaign came at a cost. Kate later said she cried for days. She was 18, barely legal, and on a set that made her feel exposed and scared. While the world saw sexy, she felt violated. That disconnect between how she felt and how she was perceived would define much of her career. And yet, the waif look caught fire. Everyone wanted a piece of it. And while Kate never asked to be the poster girl for heroin chic, she became its unwilling face. That style, a hollow gaze, pale skin, collarbones jutting out, reflected something deeper, darker, and more dangerous than most people were willing to admit. Her image became controversial. The term heroin chic was splashed across tabloids and think pieces, with critics accusing the fashion industry of glamorizing drug addiction. Kate, sullen-eyed, angular, often photographed looking half asleep, was the embodiment of it. Politicians condemned her, parents feared her influence. But Kate? She stayed silent. She never confirmed or denied anything, and that silence only deepened her legend. Chapter 3. Love, Lust, and Headlines. If her career was unstoppable, Her personal life was combustible. Kate Moss's dating history reads like a roll call of rock stars and scandals. In the mid-90s, she famously dated Johnny Depp, arguably the most photographed couple of that era. Their love was wild, passionate, and endlessly toxic. Hotel rooms were trashed. Rumors of jealousy, rage, and drugs shadowed them like cigarette smoke. Depp once admitted to Vanity Fair that he was difficult to get on with and blamed himself for the relationship's implosion. Kate later said in a rare interview that she cried for years after they broke up, but Depp was only the beginning. Moss's name would later be linked to music legends like Pete Doherty, the Libertines frontman who brought a new level of chaos into her life. Their relationship was a tabloid dream. Arrests, relapses, and public outbursts. He called her his muse, and she stood by him during rehab and court appearances. But their romance was a car crash in slow motion. The media called her a bad influence. The industry called her unmanageable. But to Kate, these men were more than headlines. They were human lifelines in an industry that felt cold and transactional. Still, the damage was real. Each breakup left her more exposed than the last. Chapter 4. The girl who never needed to try. In an industry obsessed with perfection, Kate Moss made imperfection iconic. She didn't strut, she slinked. Her walk wasn't choreographed. It was instinctive, almost careless, and that's what made it unforgettable. She didn't perform for the cameras. She acted like they weren't even there. Designers loved her because she was a blank canvas that could become anything. Alexander McQueen made her a hologram. John Galliano made her a bride. Marc Jacobs made her a messiah. The industry projected its fantasies onto her, and she carried them with a strange, weightless grace. Even when she wasn't speaking, she was saying everything. Her expressions were vacant, and yet somehow full of character. She could turn a blank stare into an aesthetic. It wasn't about posing. It was about existing. And in doing so, she rewrote the rule book.
Ready to rock?
Chapter 5. The Girl Who Fell, the 2005 scandal, was not the beginning of Kate's drug use, but it was the first time the public could no longer look away. Rumors had long swirled around Kate's party lifestyle. Her relationships, especially with rock star Pete Doherty, became front-page gossip painted with images of chaos, drug binges, and rehab visits. Insiders whispered about after-parties that turned into all-nighters. Friends described her as wild, unpredictable, and endlessly sad behind the glitter. But the mirror photo made it undeniable. Kate Moss had a drug problem, and she wasn't hiding it well enough anymore. The Daily Mirror published front-page photos of her snorting cocaine. The pictures were damning. They showed a supermodel, idolized by millions, bent over a table with rolled-up banknotes, her privacy shattered in a single tabloid splash. Brands like H&M, Chanel, and Burberry instantly dropped her. She lost millions overnight. But here's the thing. Kate didn't crumble. She didn't fade away. Instead, she quietly checked into rehab and vanished from public view. The fashion world whispered, speculated, waited, and then, just months later, she returned. She signed 18 new contracts, including Dior and Longchamp. Kate Moss didn't just survive the scandal. She profited from it. She simply re-entered the room, looking as unbothered as ever, and the room bowed. Chapter 6. The Woman Who Never Left. While her peers faded into nostalgia, Kate stayed, not always front and center, but always present. She started her own talent agency, mentoring a new generation of models. She graced covers in her 40s that women half her age would kill for. She walked for Balenciaga, closed Louis Vuitton, and still had the same razor-sharp cheekbones that once changed fashion forever. And through it all, she kept her private life just that, private. Her daughter, Lila Grace, is now modeling. And Kate, in her rare interviews, speaks like a woman who's seen everything and owes you nothing. She drinks her tea, she minds her business, and she's still cooler than you. She reminded us that not all icons scream. Some whisper, some survive, some vanish and return stronger, and some never really leave. They don't make models like this anymore, and maybe they never really did, because there is, and will always be, only one Kate Moss.
She does what she wants, and she looks cool doing it.